Hello everybody, thank you for joining me. My name is David. I'm doing my question and answer videos that I do every single Monday. So I'm answering people's questions from the last Q&A video last Monday, and any questions you guys have today, please go down below into the comment section, ask me anything you like, and I'll answer them in the next Q&A next Monday. That's how it works. Something I like to do every week is recommend something to you guys. It might be an author, like a person writes a book, something that I want to recommend, or maybe another YouTube channel, or maybe something that you could take, things like this. This week, I am highly recommending that you guys stop doing something. Stop consuming something that is killing you. Dairy. Dairy, guys, I know. All those cheese lovers out there, I'm talking about you. You are killing yourself with dairy, okay? And it's so important. That's why I'm making it my recommendation this week, is that you guys completely 100% cut it out of your diet. It's awful. And I'm just going to talk about it a few seconds. I'm not going to take up much of your guys' time. If you're interested, feel free to look into anything that I'm saying. I'll put a link down below that we'll talk about, I think, 14 cohort studies about this, about what I'm about to tell you. This is something I've known for years. I've lost a friend to dairy. I know. Dairy, and any good doctor that knows this will tell you that dairy and alcohol are the worst things that we put in our body. The two worst things we put in our body, dairy and alcohol. And what's sad is Americans we're finding that dairy is their top source of saturated fat. And I'm not hating on saturated fat. It's sad that that's the source of it. It also happens to be a major source of vitamins and stuff like this for Americans, and it's awful. Dairy causes heart disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and increased risk of breast cancer, ovarian, and prostate cancer. Major source of inflammation. And we know inflammation is one of the worst things to us. It's not natural to be consuming as adults. It's baby food. We have developed an enzyme so that some people, most of us, can digest dairy. Doesn't mean it's okay to. I'm telling you. No other animals digest dairy after youth, after being a baby. None of us used to. None of us. People that are lactose intolerant, that's the normal. That's how we all used to be. And we, after forcing dairy in us for so many years, we developed an enzyme. A lot of us developed an enzyme to be able to digest this, but it is killing us. We can get calcium, potassium, vitamin D, and protein from a different source, and we better, because even the same protein is causing bone loss. Yeah, bone loss. Milk, dairy causes bone loss. I know, right? There is no evidence that it helps our bones. And no evidence that it fights osteoporosis. There's none. It's a myth. Matter of fact, it's bad for our bones. Not only is it bad for our bones, it attacks our pancreas, which cannot recover or repair itself. Pancreas is an organ that it cannot repair itself. And that's how I lost my friend. The dairy that he consumed attacked his pancreas. And every time you consume dairy, it's attacking your pancreas, it's damaging your pancreas, and that is the one organ that cannot repair itself, that does not. So every time, that pizza, every time, that Parmesan cheese, that cheddar on your sandwich, every day, you are causing damage to your pancreas more and more and more, and it's not recovering, it's not repairing. It's causing extreme fatality rate. Extreme. Yeah. That's as far as I'm going to get into. I'm not going to go on and on and on anymore. Please look into it. Please look at what I'm saying. If you consume dairy, and even just a little bit every day or every week, it's not good for you. It's killing you. It really is, okay? And what I'm doing here is try to get you guys healthy, try to get you guys to feel good and stuff like that. And so eating dairy on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever, is making you feel worse, okay? So, like I said, I'll put a link in the description box for I'll just show you a study, and feel free to look more into this, okay? Thanks, guys. No more dairy. So let's get started with the questions. First question is from Edith, and Edith reminds me that please, all I ask you guys is please give me your location. Tell us where you're at in the world. Give us a general, okay? No addresses. Just tell us where you're at. A lot of us feel better knowing that this is going on everywhere in the world, that it's not just here, that it's not just me, right? So please, thank you. So Edith, hello Edith, asks, could you please tell me why we put a shield up? Meaning not remembering. And out of nowhere in therapy, we are bombarded in our minds. And yay, now I remember. So therapy unlocks a lot of things. It can it? And it's all in here already, isn't it? Why don't we recall this and remember these things? Especially traumatic things, right? Big time memories. Our memory is usually associated with emotions, with our body doing things, and that's why they become significant in our past. But why do we forget, I guess would be the question. Wouldn't it, Edith? Why do we forget? So we block memories. We don't process emotion. This is evidence that we don't process emotion, that we feel something bad and we try to ignore it. We try to turn around and not face it and run away from it, or numb it with drugs and alcohol, different addictions. And because it felt so bad. And we don't understand that we deal with emotions as they come, and then we close them, and that memory isn't bad anymore. It's not a bad memory anymore. You can see people that are still suffering from things that happened years ago. They'll tell you over and over again. They'll tell you as if it just happened yesterday. They'll bring it up all the time and say and tell you, you don't know, it hurts so bad. They're not processing. They're staying right there with it open, right when it happened. So why does these memories that you locked, they come out in therapy? Well, one reason we try to block these memories is we don't feel safe, right? We feel unsafe. They're dangerous. We don't know how to process, so they become too scary. And in therapy, you feel safer, right? In therapy, that therapist may make you feel safe enough to feel these things. It may be the time in your life that it's okay now to feel these things. In other words, when we are in a bad, abusive relationship, we try to ignore all the bad feelings, and then sometime after the relationship is over, after our brains calm down and we feel a little bit more safe, then we might start feeling these things again, and they start coming up when we don't have to block them anymore, when we feel a little safer. Another thing is just talking about things. It's not just so much that the therapist is prodding and probing, which the therapist may ask good questions, right? But you're also talking about things, and we hear this. We hear ourselves talk and say things, and we figure things out because, remember, we have everything here. We have all the answers here, typically. We just don't usually have the confidence and things like this, experience to know what to do. So I think a mixture of, I feel safe, and I'm learning now how to process emotions. I guess that would be safe too, right? I feel safe enough to process these emotions. I don't feel like I have to ignore them anymore. You've ignored them so long. I mean, think about reasons we ignore things, because we stay in abusive relationships. Somebody will say, somebody abused me and I never talk to them again. And then somebody will tell me, somebody abused me for 5 years. For those 5 years, you had to do something to make it okay, to make it comfortable that someone kept abusing you. So we lie to ourselves, and we lie and we ignore things, and we forget about these things sometimes until later. Cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance, if we lie to ourselves, eventually those realities don't match. And maybe in therapy is when it's really presented to us. That's what a good therapist would do. Challenge you. Hope that makes sense. Thanks, Edith. Good question. Vero. Don't know where you're from, please tell us your location next time. Thank you for answering my question. You are more than welcome. I know I'm good enough, but why am I not good enough for him? After all the love and support I gave him, I took care of him. Maybe he stopped finding me attractive. And try to realize that people are all different, Vero. We're all different. This person sounds like doesn't think the same way you do, does not hold importance in who you are, maybe held importance in how you looked. Maybe they did stop finding you attractive. Because if we are attracted to somebody emotionally, who they are, that usually doesn't stop. If we're attracted to somebody physically, how they look, it will always stop. If that's all we have, if that's it. If we don't care about who they are and things like this, how they feel and what they do, we only care about how they look, that will stop. That will go down. That will fade. Looks fade, right? So maybe that's what all he held important, and that's what he stopped finding attractive, is your looks. Because it's not that our looks fade. They don't have to. If all it is this is pretty, right? How long will I find this pretty for? Until I find another stapler that is prettier. Eventually, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, eventually you just get tired of the same stapler. We're just human. I think that's a human condition, right? If it's just looks, right? Unless I say this, I love this stapler and it's the best stapler as ever and it served me well and I'm going to stay true to it. And if it breaks, I'm going to fix it, not just go get a new one. Not important. Looks, just the looks of it. Buy it, get another one. I like green staplers now. Hope that makes sense. Thank you. And Jill, I don't know where you're from. Jill, please give us your locations, guys, when you ask a question. Thank you. Jill asks, or says, I'm having difficulty with the back and forth. He showed up with hickeys on his neck, asking to reconcile the relationship and letting me know what it would take to do that. Isn't that amazing? I think that's just amazing, isn't it? It's like I go off, I ditch you, I go off and have fun with some girl for a few days. I come back with hickeys. Now I'm all ready to reconcile the relationship, and I'm going to let you know what you need to do that. I mean, it's just, God. How do you handle the panic attacks, the stress, the lies, and your what ifs? So, Jill, we're not meant to handle all this by ourselves. That's why you're asking me, how do you do this, right? Because if you had a great support system, you wouldn't be asking me. You would, if you had friends there for you that call on you and check on you and say, Jill, how you feeling? What are you doing today? Let's get out of the house and do stuff. And you had family there checking up on you and saying, coming over and bringing you something to eat. And you had a therapist that you went to once or twice a week and a life coach you go to once or twice a week. You wouldn't be asking me, right? I know how to handle panic attacks. I know how to handle stress. I know how to handle his lies and the what ifs. But this is an awful lot to take on for me. You know, this is months of therapy. This is months of coaching. I do this for my clients. But to just tell you how right away, I'm not going to get into that. It's so much. It's so involved, Joe. It's so involved. What I do in your situation with my clients is I completely start over. It's a reset. I call a rebirth, really, because I'm going to become a whole new person, right? Because typically you've compromised yourself so much that you don't know who you are anymore. And we've also typically have acted in ways that we don't approve of, that we have so much shame and guilt about. And your brain is dealing with the cognitive dissonance and all the lies, and you're and depressed. And so I start with a whole reset, a whole rebirth, man. And it starts from things that I take and a full cleanse and cold showers and changing my environment and telling everybody. And it's just a whole awful lot to do, Jill. Find a therapist or find some professional that has a plan for you. If you call me, I'll tell you my plan. I kind of just did. That's kind of what I do. It's so involved, guys. It's so involved. And, you know, I just hope that you guys believe that it's important, that your mental health is important, that your life and your future, how you feel and how you think is important to you, and that you make it a huge commitment. And typically to make these huge commitments, we have to drop other commitments. You guys may have to do that to do this. You know, people, I'll say, you know, people, they keep, my ex who abused the hell out of me for 5 years keeps texting me every day, sending me bad messages. And I'll say, block him. They say, I block him, but I still get the messages. I still read them. And I'll say, change your phone number. I've had this phone number for 10 years. I don't care. This doesn't care. It's just a phone number. Well, that's how people know how to get a hold of me and blah, blah. Give them the new number. I mean, do you see how uncommitted we are? Do you see how unimportant it really is? Do you see how low our self-worth is? Thank you. Annabelle from California. Hello, Annabelle, and thank you for telling me where you're at. Thank you, Dave, and it's David, everybody. I've gotten, I think, 6 Daves in the last video. My name is David. I just really don't like, for me, to be called Dave. Thanks. I would like to know how to deal with a narcissistic husband. How can I survive until I can leave this crazy situation? Well, Annabelle, be very certain that you don't have to stay. This is such a common problem. And I gotta make sure everything's cool and everything's all right until I can finally run away. And if he or she gets a whiff of that I'm leaving, my life will be hell. It might be easier to just face hell and leave. You may not have to really be there. But there's some situations where we feel like we're going to stick this one out for a week, a month. But Annabelle, don't do it for don't do it for a long time. Don't stay. And I bet you don't really have to, or at least as long as you think you need to. There is such things I would like to separate. I want to take some time. I'm going to go stay with my mother for a little while or whatever. But let's just say, how do you deal with a narcissist in the same space, right? So there's a technique called gray rocking. I have videos on gray rocking. In the title, you can find them if you'd like to watch them. You can watch other people's videos on gray rocking. It's a technique, a method on how to deal with toxic people in the same physical space. So if you already know what that is and you're looking for something more, there is nothing really. We don't deal with them. We deal with them at work, places like this, but we don't have relationships with them. The people that do don't know any better, or they don't feel worthy enough not to. So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, there really is no way to happily live with an abusive, narcissistic husband in your home, right? There just isn't. You gotta leave. You gotta leave, Annabelle, and you can try the best you can while you have to be there, or you feel like you have to be there, and it's gray rocking, okay? So just look up gray rock method, gray rock technique. I made videos about it, so I don't need to go hugely into it, but it's so simple. It's just don't react, right? No reaction. What does a rock do? Nothing, right? And that means don't tell him anything. Don't share things with him. Don't show emotion around him. Don't let him know what happened at work and what somebody said and what somebody did to you on the road today. Nothing. Cut them out of your life. Even if they're standing right next to you, they're not in your life. Good luck, Annabelle. But what you really need, how you survive, support. Support. It's what you need. We need people. You need family. You need friends. You need therapists, life coaches, counselors, psychiatrists, drugs if you need it. Seriously. Go to a therapist and get medication if you feel that you need it. I hope that medication doesn't keep you there longer. Good luck. David from Florida. Hello, David. And hi, Dave. Hi, Dave from Florida. Thank you for your expertise. You're welcome. Thank you. 3 months out of a narcissist relationship, I think I've healed a lot. I keep running the loop in my brain and re-experiencing the pain of unfaithfulness and betrayal. I never had direct proof. I just know. Now I know she was a somatic, and I have trouble with not knowing who and why and how many people she was with and who they were. You have troubles with who she is with now. You said you know that she's not a real human, but you just can't let it go. We need to keep healing. Okay? So believing that she's not a real human being means we're not healed, right? It's a sign of immaturity, and that's okay, David. You have a right to feel that way. Absolutely. You have every right in the world to feel that way about someone who's hurt you. But you'll notice that when you stop feeling that way, you'll feel better eventually. It'll help. It'll increase your healing. It's the next step. So we try to look at situations like this with compassion. Find compassion. Find a real, true understanding of what happened and who she is. And I don't mean just studying her personality disorder. Like you said, I know she's a somatic. I don't know why. That has nothing. Who cares? Those words should mean nothing. You think they help you better understand someone that you've already lived with or knew? How? How can that help you? It might help you understand, I don't know, an aspect of a personality disorder, but not an aspect of her abuse, I don't think. I don't know. I think it's better to understand that she's been horribly abused or neglected in her childhood. Try to see that. Try to see where she's coming from so you know how she feels and thinks. Instead of she's this horrible, bad, evil person, which she may be, whatever. Try to understand why she's hurting you, because she's so hurt inside. And she doesn't know how to ask for things that she wants and needs. Literally, try to think this way so you don't take all of this so personally. And realize that she does this to everybody in her life. I know you said you've healed a lot. That's great. Just a lot more to do. Keep going. Maybe it never stops, guys. Maybe it never stops. You have trouble with not knowing who she slept with. Why do you need to know who she slept with? Or how many? I mean, I get that. Don't get me wrong. I get that. It's not that I don't understand or I don't have compassion. But would you like to sit down with her and she just start listing all of it? Or are you worried about people that may have betrayed you in your life? That comes with the confidence in ourselves, who we are. Okay? If you know yourself really, really well, right? And things like honesty and loyalty are important to you, you won't have friends that are screwing your girlfriend behind your back, right? If that's what a concern of yours is. Thank you. But a real understanding, real compassion for her and then for you and what you've been through. You said you can't let it go. What you're doing is ruminating. And please, everybody, try to realize that even though you hate them, even though it was all a lie, you come to realize, if that's what it is, even though you can't stand them, you don't want them back, it's still a void. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad or happy or sad. If somebody's in your life or you live with them or you're married to them or you had children with them or you saw them every day and you spent half the day with them for months, years, whatever, it's a void. If they're gone, that's a big void. And we need to fill it with something else. Not another person. A healthy way. That's unhealthy way. Paula, don't know where you're from. Please, guys, give us your locations. Thank you. Hi, Dave. David. Thanks for your videos. You are very welcome. Thank you. Any advice for recovery while we cannot afford therapy? Absolutely. All kinds of stuff we can be doing, Paula. All kinds. We can be exercising. Let's really tackle our life, right? If we're not happy in our jobs, time to change that. Either we go for a promotion that we wanted, we ask for that raise that we've been wanting, or we go get another job. If we don't like where we live, we go move. If we don't like the relationships we're in, we make them better or we drop them. Okay, so we really, in our body, in our health, in our mental health, we get rid of stress. We start getting rid of addictions and these kinds of things. Okay, now it's going to be harder to do these because these are coping mechanisms that we use for life that we cannot cope with. And if we're not going to get therapy to learn how to cope with it, it's going to be more difficult to try to stop, smoking cigarettes if that's a way that you cope with your stress daily. And now you haven't removed the stress, which is what therapy is supposed to do, but you now can't use your coping mechanism anymore. Much harder. When I help people with addictions, I don't talk about the addiction for a long time. I let them, whatever, cope, and then we start fixing why are you using? Why do you have an addiction? Why are we smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, and snorting cocaine all the time? Right? Let's fix those problems. Then we'll start worrying about what we're doing. I hope that makes sense. So all kinds of things you can do, Paula, but here's the deal. If you can't afford therapy now, when can you afford it? When? Never? Never in your life? Or are you open to maybe? And maybe are you saving? Maybe you're trying to find a way that your government can help you. You can also join support groups for free. You can also join support groups with therapists. They'll have support groups instead of one-on-ones for $200 an hour. They'll have group therapy where people can come into the groups for $40, $25. Maybe you can afford that. But I would be highly committed to your mental health. And if that means drop other commitments, then I would do that. If I'm going to a pottery class right now, that costs me $25 a week, right? Maybe we can hold off pottery for 3 months, right? I'm just saying, there's $25 a week. You keep, get rid of a couple other commitments and maybe you can afford this, because your brain is freaking important. Let me tell you, because not getting the help that you need, that your brain needs, is more damaging. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. I'm going to isolate now and get myself help later. You're going to be worse later. It's more damaging. Trust me. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to help you understand the decisions that you guys are making when you don't get the help that you need. And saying, oh, I can't afford it, when maybe you can. Maybe you just don't feel worth it. I know a lot of people reach out to me on my website. I know that out of the people that do, there are a lot of people that are asking me for free help, and they can afford it. They can afford to pay me. They can afford to hire me, but they're asking me for free help, free questions, taking up my time for free when they can pay me like I charge, and they aren't doing it because they don't feel worthy. Period. They don't feel worthy. Heather from Ontario, Canada. Hello, Heather. How do I forgive my brother for abandoning me and listening to my ex-narcissist? He smeared me to my ex and verbally abused me, but wants to act like nothing. He doesn't care, doesn't want to make it better, doesn't want to apologize. He says it's no big deal, and he does this for years, your whole life. This is tough, isn't it? It's always tougher with family, right? It's always harder with family. Don't know what to do. It makes no difference, though, Heather. It makes no difference. Family, friends, acquaintances. If someone mistreats you and you can't stop it, then you have to keep them away from you. Okay? And I'll repeat that again. If someone's hurting you and you can't stop it, they need to be away from you until further until the hurt stops, until they stop hurting you. Right? We have to do that, and it doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if it's a police officer. I don't care if it's your priest. I don't care if it's your father, your son, daughter, sister, brother. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That whole blood thicker than water crap is exactly that. Crap. It means nothing to me. Thank God it's what saved my life, or I'd still be talking to abusive family. I'd be listening to the nasty things they have said. Your question, how do I forgive my brother? Why do you need to forgive him? Who told you that? I know you hear that and see that everywhere, but why don't you form your own opinion on that? I did. And my opinion is I don't have to. The people that have hurt me in my life, I'm perfectly fine with that they did that. I'm perfectly healed from it. It doesn't bother me anymore at all. I don't have to forgive them. I never did. They never asked me, and I never called them up and forgave them, and I never did it in here. I found compassion for how fucked they are and why they did that, why they hurt me. Now I know. Their problem. Not mine anymore. I made it my problem. I let it be my problem. But when I fixed this, it wasn't my problem anymore. That's what you need to do. That's how you will find forgiveness, if that's what you really want. Because you can forgive him, but that may not stop it, Heather. So you're asking me, how do I forgive my brother? No. Question. Let's reframe that. How do I make him stop hurting me? 1, ask. 2, doesn't stop? See ya. Pretty simple. You just have to feel worthy of it. And that you can do, Heather, by asking or hiring support to do that. Good luck. I'm going to stop part 1 there, guys. And part 2 will be in a few minutes. If you guys can help me in the work and the energy and everything that I'm doing by just pushing a couple buttons, maybe even saving some people's lives. There's thousands, if not millions of people that may benefit from some of this information. If you did, maybe somebody else will. And what you can do is support what I'm doing by voting, even down, thumbs up or down, commenting, asking questions, subscribing to my channel, or posting this video and sharing this video with other people in other places.